back down. They're working on an agreement. The Sacramento Bee. Oh my God, Sacramento. You're named after a city in California. Oh, I wonder if you're biased. Deeply disrespectful. Calls grow for Vance to resign. No, no, they don't. I haven't heard of any calls for Vance to resign. And you guys want to hear why the left? This is why the left lost. Okay, this is why the left is insane. Here is the reason why they're calling for JD Vance to resign. Because Vice President JD Vance um uh claimed that an economic stake in Ukraine was a stronger security guarantee than troops from some random country. Right? And this, like, they don't even highlight exactly what he said. He was talking about the United States having an economic stake in Ukraine. This has to do with the minerals deal that the United States and Ukraine were going to sign on to in order for the United States to try to recoup some of its money or all of its money for supporting the war in Ukraine. Right? So he was saying that the United States having an economic stake in Ukraine was a stronger security guarantee than troops from some random country. Because this is the way the European Union works. The European Union is the coalition of all the different countries that are a part of the European Union, and they will send peacekeeping forces or troops to certain nations or whatever, and they request volunteers from whatever countries of the European Union. Okay? There are five, maybe four like mainstream ass European Union nations, like militarized nations. Germany, Britain, France, Poland, maybe Hungary. I'm not too sure about Hungary, right? Those four. The rest, I mean, you can maybe consider Spain, but not really. Okay? The rest of the nations in the European Union effectively don't have militaries, and even the big names I just dropped, they effectively don't have fucking militaries either, especially not to even defend themselves. Okay, let alone the entirety of the European Union. Okay, it's basically as if back in the day when the United States, every state had its own militia, and then they like federalized militias to fight wars and stuff like that. That's basically how it worked. Some states basically didn't have a fucking militia, others did. Okay, so basically what they're talking about, what JD Vance is referencing is, of course, it's a bigger security guarantee for the United States to have vested economic interest in your nation than it is to receive military forces from Estonia, Switzerland, Italy, Greece, Lithuania, right? Denmark, Sweden. Sure, they have technologically advanced militaries because of the United States, need I mind you, right? And our military industrial complex, right? Um, but they don't have militaries that are capable of actually fighting or potentially fighting what they're claiming right now is Russia, right? Because we're talking about Ukraine. Huh? His were largely received as a dismissal of Allied military contributions, sparking backlash in the UK and France. Vance later noted that he had not referred to Britain or France. Yeah, no shit. No shit. Because he's talking about some random country in the EU, like how I just described, right? Because when people talk about the European Union, they talk about Germany, they talk about the UK, they talk about France, and more recently they're talking about Poland. Nobody talks about the other nations in the European Union because they're not fucking relevant. No offense to y'all, right? There's nothing wrong with not being relevant, right? But that's the truth of the matter. You're not relevant. Okay? Just like, guess what? When foreigners talk about the United States, you know what states they really know? Florida, New York, Texas, and California. That's what they know. They don't know the other fucking states because they're not relevant. They're not big enough in any kind of capacity to be fucking relevant. Not in terms of their population or the size of the state. I'm talking about like in they're not known, right? They're not known. More states are becoming known for like political extremism, like Washington and Oregon, right? Washington and Oregon, they used to be recognized as like very big national park area states, very beautiful fucking states, okay? But now they're known for political leftist extremism, okay? That's what Trump was talking about. And now the left is calling for the vice president to resign for saying something that's true. Are you fucking kidding me? And then guess what? Then France and the UK both turned around. Both turned around. The president and the prime minister fucking turned around and they made speeches talking about how they absolutely needed American backing for any kind of actual peace negotiation for this conflict. Because what JD Vance said is not only accurate, but it's true. This is why the left lost the election, and this is why if you're voting left, you might want to consider that you are potentially indoctrinated, like legitimately. To call for a vice president to resign over something he said, well, a bunch of the articles we've been pulling up is the left claiming that they support freedom of speech.